Hi, everybody. Welcome to MJ Comix. I'm your host, James Mack, and tonight I am joined by Dave from West Coast DAVEngers. Welcome, Dave, to the channel.
Thanks for having me, James. It's a pleasure to be talking to somebody far over the pond from me.
No, I really appreciate you coming on. I'm always really interested to talk to people who, this is my first time being, face to face with you. I've sent you messages and stuff in the past, but I'm really excited tonight to talk to you and find out a bit more about yourself.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I'm excited to talk to you too. And as we were just talking backstage, it's like we've got a lot to talk about and probably a lot in common.
Yeah, it's crazy, really, considering the distance, and we're both brought up in different cultures. There is a lot of similarities, so it'd be interesting to see what we come across tonight.
Yeah, we're connected by the power of the geekdom.
Yeah, definitely. But we've got Derek
Newman.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us, Derek. Really appreciate it. But yeah, if we just pretty much go straight into it, because I know that we'll probably be talking quite a lot tonight. So
yeah.
If you don't mind, we've got Gemma Mack in the house. Thank you, Gemma, for joining us. But the first question I like to ask people is pretty much, who are you? So who is Dave? What is it, Dave, all about?
Well, been trying to figure that one out for 44 years now, but I mean, in terms of West Coast DAVEngers, I always firmly believed that I belonged in front of a camera.
Okay.
It's just my personality. I was class clown, being a geek as a kid and somebody that's super into stuff that most people aren't.
Yeah.
You have to find a way to make friends.
And
if you're immune to laughter, it probably means you're dead. So laughter is usually the it is the best medicine. So
I always find that laughter is probably like the key to the gateway to people's souls.
Yeah, 100%. And so in terms of just being in front of the camera, but who am I? I grew up in New York. I'm a New Yorker. I grew up around comics. There was a comic store. Literally, you could spit in any direction on Long Island and you would find a comic store. Yeah. Like, no joke. I grew up in a town called Deer Park, almost the dead center of Long Island. And there were 3 comic book stores within a mile of my house.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
And this is the, late 80s, mid to late 80s. But we're asking who was West Coast DAVEngers. I started going to lots of garage sales and flea markets. And then me and my buddy Dave Correa went on this road trip. He lives in the Bay Area, San Francisco. I live up here in Washington. We did a 4-day, I think it was a 4-day road trip, driving back from San Francisco to Seattle, hitting every comic book store, antique mall, any place we could find comics, we hit. And I think it was me. I can't remember. It was me, other Dave. We came up with the name West Coast DAVEngers because it's a play on West Coast Avengers, and we're both Dave. And then I turned this into my business and my thing. And Dave's like, "Oh, you don't have to worry. This is your name, And yeah, so that's who I am in a nutshell in terms of this. Now, you want to go any deeper? I'm happy to.
Well, I'm gonna have to start charging it because it's a bit like therapy, isn't it? To be fair.
Hey, look, I mean, your country has social medical insurance, so you can't charge me anything.
No, you are right. Technically, you are in the United Kingdom at the moment. So, but in terms of your YouTube, then it's been going for about 3 years. You mentioned early in September.
I believe my first episode dropped in September 2021. I was in the Bay Area, and we had just gone to a couple flea markets, and I had shot a previous episode and I sent it to Dave because Dave is an artist. He's also a content, like he's been around the block when it comes to creating videos and stuff like that. So Dave was like, he's like, when you come here, we'll shoot it. We'll shoot it in my studio. We'll get you a microphone and everything. And so I shot this video and I just started talking about comics. And the thing is I've been collecting, reading, and around comics, even worked in the comic industry. So, this is 30 years of whatever's in this brain. And I just started talking about the books that I bought. And I finished the video, and Dave's like, "Why do you know all of that?" I'm like, I don't know. And so, yeah, I started shooting the videos, and obviously it's just a learning curve. I learned to edit myself.
Yeah.
I learned to, I all of this stuff I kind of just trial and error. But I wanted to put these videos out there because it's what I love. And, the heart of what we love as collectors, as, people like that, is sharing, right?
Yeah.
We like to
Sharing your passion. Yeah.
Yeah, and so if I can share my passion and also do it in my own way, being a goofball, a jackass or whatever, but you know, for people that have watched my show before, and you've decorated your set with Todd stuff. I have a Todd piece over here, but that first episode, I had bought something that Todd did, and I was like, when you see Todd, you buy Todd, and like it just came,
Yeah.
like I never thought of that before. But it is how I've always lived my collecting existence, is like I see something that I like of Todd McFarlane's and I buy it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No,
So
yeah, I'm exactly the same. We'll talk about Todd a bit later, but I absolutely adore Todd as well. I'm so jealous and astounded, really, because it's just an amazing interview that you did with him
thank you.
probably about, was it 6 months ago?
December, yeah, December. I want to say
Yeah,
it was right before Christmas, or yeah, it sounds about right. Maybe
yeah, and
after. It was January. It might have been January.
yeah, we'll get into that, but yeah, that's an amazing interview, and I recommend anybody who hasn't seen your channel, that'll probably be like the first video you should definitely
Yes,
watch.
I agree.
But yeah, so you've in the back there, you've got obviously a good selection of
Mhm.
comics. You've got Warrior issue number 1, which is it's the first V for Vendetta, is it?
Right. First V for Vendetta, and then we've got First Deadline, which is first Tank
First
Girl.
Tank Girl, yeah,
Yeah,
brilliant.
yeah. My love
2
for the
amazing
UK
books,
runs deep.
yeah. So how did you get into collecting comics? Was it a way of escaping reality, or or you just handed some comics and then it just went off from there?
It's fuzzy to me, and I've even asked my parents. I've asked my brother, my parents. My dad collected comics when he was a kid,
Yeah,
and he grew up in the '50s in Brooklyn, and he was part of that. He's the baby boomer generation. He collected baseball cards and comics, but first chance that my grandma, his mom, had, all in the garbage, all in the
yeah,
incinerator. Probably what would be hundreds of thousands of dollars in cards and comics today.
yeah.
He kept his classic comics, which are not that great, but for kids back in the '50s and '60s, it was history in comic form, right?
Yeah.
Some of the greatest literary pieces have been turned. They were classic comics, from Don Quixote to Uncle Tom's Cabin,
Oh, yeah.
all that stuff. So they were around when I was a kid, and then I don't know when it started. It must have been around 87, 88, but my earliest books are that first ongoing Wolverine,
Oh, yeah.
the Claremont Buscema,
Yeah.
one that came after the Miller Claremont. So those were some of my first books. And my parents brought back a Detective 500 from Norway or Denmark, one of the Norwegian countries. And
Yeah.
that's definitely one of the first comics I ever had. I still have that copy. But
Oh, cool.
I got into it. And my oldest friend Seth, who I've known since I was 4 or 5, we both collected and read obsessively. We went to World of Fantasy in Deer Park, New York. That was our LCS.
Yeah.
We bugged the shit out of the owner Tom all the time. We hung like we weren't
Those annoying kids.
yeah, we were like the younger version of Jay and Silent Bob, except less rude.
Yeah, less crude, yeah.
Yeah, and but that was it. Like, I was taken by Wolverine, and then obviously Todd's ASM run, and that's all I needed. I
Yeah.
was into the superhero stuff, as most kids are. Like, I don't know anybody my age at that time that was reading Watchmen or Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah.
That would come later for me. But it started with the Wolverine series and ASM into Spider-Man, and my first 2 favorite artists were definitely Larson and McFarlane, and then Jim Lee, and then Rob
Yeah.
Liefeld.
And of course you've interviewed Eric Larson as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I love talking to him. He's very open and honest, and
Yeah.
the guy's been doing what he's done for 30 years, and all he wants to do is make comics. How could you not respect that?
No, 100%. Great artist as well. We love him.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, the comics thing just, it was one of those things that took, and I had a bunch of friends that were into it. We were the, the nerdy kids, but even got into playing the Marvel role playing game,
Yeah.
collected the Marvel cards, toys. It was the beginning of the collectibles. Where we are now is an
Yeah.
extension of where it started in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
It's, it's had its roadblocks and its speed bumps, but before then, what did they have? They had Star Wars toys, and that was really like the big collectible thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, I got trapped in all of it.
But from your YouTube channel, a lot of your videos are what I predominantly love watching, which is comic hunts. Go
Yeah.
flick through. I can't get enough of. I love watching those videos of people flicking through and finding, golden nuggets and stuff. I love those types of videos.
Yeah, I too also, I like just listening the ASMR of like a quietish shop and somebody's flipping through books and it's making that little cracking sound. Um that's the thing, right? And I don't know what it was like growing up for you, how many shops you had access to. But being in New York, it's going to be the biggest market for comics in the country because
Yeah,
both Marvel and DC are just right across the
straight.
East River and
Yeah,
yeah, right into the city. So I can just tell you, like, I can give you a visual cue if anybody's ever been to Long Island. But the island at its widest is like 22 miles, 25 miles, whatever it is. I grew up in this town, Deer Park. Main road's Deer Park Avenue, goes north-south. If you make a right onto Deer Park Avenue, hit World of Fantasy. You go down about a half a mile, Captain Cronies. You go down about a mile, I can't remember the Babylon store. But if you go left and you go this, like, I had local, like, people have a local comic store. I had 5.
yeah,
And then you extend it and and so it just fascinates me that, like, we had so many, and then they started drying up in the late 90s. Some more opened up, some failed, some opened up, some failed. And I like to take people into these shops because you think about it, and maybe it's different in the UK, but in the US, I like to say the last frontier of independently owned small businesses that have character
yep,
is the comic shop. Record stores are probably the only thing that comes second to that, where,
yeah,
like, you can go to 10 shops in a week and you're going to 10 different personalities that are a retail store.
yeah,
And to me, that's just fascinating. Like, we're not going to have that too much longer in this country or around the world as not to get crazy political, but the corporations turn everything into the same shit. Your
yeah,
Amazon, your Target, your
yeah.
Sainsbury, your whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, or your or what's the clothing store that's a Poshmark.
Primark.
Primark, yeah, Primark.
Primark.
Anyway, that's what I'm saying. Like, these stores are extensions of people's personalities. And so
Yeah,
if I can take people into those stores, show them around while I obviously do my thing, then maybe that gets another Tesco. There you go, Tessie's.
yeah,
Maybe that gets 3 more people into that store at some point. And it's not I'm not being, nobody's hiring me to do this. I'm doing this because I care and I
yeah,
love comics. And a little bit of that clout of going into that store again and getting that, hey, we saw that video you did. Thank you.
yeah,
Like, I mean, I'm not looking for it, but it's a nice thing. Like, there's a store up in Bellingham, Washington called Comics Place. And Eric Larson, actually, that's where he kind of got his start. And
yeah,
that's where he lived for a while. But I've become friends with the owners, Django and Jeff. I had them on my channel. And every time I go up there now, it's nice. I get to go upstairs and pick through all the stuff and get, I spend $1,000 there, but I'll come away with some great stuff.
yeah,
And, like, yeah, I didn't know that was going to happen, but it did. But if I
yeah.
can put some more butts into comic stores, then my, like, literally beam me up. My job is done.
Yeah, because it kind of works both ways. So, you're getting content, but you're also promoting their store. So
Yeah,
it's a win-win, you
it
know.
is. It is. And like I'll never outright bash a store and put it on my channel. I might say something like, "Oh, the prices aren't what I want to pay,"
Yeah.
but you'll never see me go on and be like, "This store sucks. Don't go in here," unless something were to happen. You know, like if I walk in and the dude starts yelling racist stuff, well, okay,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'll put
You
your
need
ass on blast. But
yeah.
you know, I it doesn't do me any good to hurt somebody's business. And you know, I'm happy to tell people like, you don't want to buy books from me, just listen to me talk about these stores. I don't care. Like you know, like
Yeah.
go spend money in these stores, because the more success that comic stores happen, the more comic stays alive. You know, it's available for people.
Yeah.
And I just love, you know, the UK trip that I did last year where I went to the stores in the one store in Edinburgh, Deadhead Comics. I was in like the dankest, most disgusting basement, and I had such a good time.
I
Like
bet, yeah.
you know, I mean, there's spiders crawling on me. I'm like yelling shit out like Indiana Jones would if there were snakes all over him.
Snakes, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just like, but this is the thing. Like, how many industries, how many stores, how many businesses could you go into these days and be like, yeah, this store has this selection and the owner doesn't want to talk to anybody. And you walk into this store and they're like, look through every
Yeah.
box, everything's for sale. I'll give you a good price
Yeah.
if it's not priced, you know, like, and so, you know, I know we were talking about my origin in comics, but I think it was the fascination of comic stores that really kept me interested in going to comic
Yeah.
stores all around the world.
Yeah, because to be fair, I suppose, you know, you said that you're a bit like Jay and Silent Bob at that comic store as kids. Had
Mhm.
the owner been rude to you, or, you know, that you might not necessarily be who
That's
you are
true.
today.
And and after he closed, and if any, like I said, I just want to give shout out to these two stores on Long Island that very much welcomed me in as a patron and treated me like a, you know, like friend.
Yeah.
Collector's Kingdom, which was in Huntington on Jericho Turnpike, and then Grasshopper Comics, which is still in Mineola, Long Island today, and is a force to be reckoned with when it comes to maybe the best comic store in New York.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and then
Totally.
I was a patron at, I had my pull list at Midtown Comics because I worked in Manhattan and lived in Queens, so I could just walk to pick up my, you know, my
Important.
stack.
Yeah.
And shout out to them because probably the most popular store in the country, and maybe next to Golden Apple Comics.
Well, to be fair, as someone living from outside of the US, that is Midtown Comics, is like what I recognize to be a big comic shop in New York.
Sure, sure, and, for pull list wise, I couldn't complain. They always picked out
Yeah.
the crispiest copies, and I was never upset. And sometimes they'd make a recommendation and they'd throw it in there, and I'd be like, "What is this?" They're like, "Well, we thought you'd like it," and they were pretty good at that. They were pretty good
Okay.
at recommending things that I liked.
So the conversation is kind of like really going in. It's quite flowing into the topics that I'm getting into. It's quite bizarre. But before we go into the next question, we'll just jump into this chat and say hello to people. But we've
Yeah.
got Debbie Holloway in. We've got Sammy Jane. Thank you for joining us. We've got Pad Bear J. This is going to be an interesting chat. MJ Comics and CGC Hobby Hero
That's
2024.
right. The hobby hero.
We will get into that. Dan T, evening. Looking forward to a Pearl Jam talk. Thanks, Dan, for joining us.
Always down.
We've got Haroon Khan with that. I don't know what that is, a fish or something. I don't know what that is. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a cool little
Thank you,
fish.
Haroon. We've got Daniel from Sticky Goose Comics saying smash the like button. Really appreciate it, Dan. And we've got Kenneth. Thank you, Kenneth, for joining us. But yeah, so in terms of what we've been talking about with comic shops and
just sorry. Hey, Dave. That's other Dave. That's the co-founder of the name of the West Coast DAVEngers right there. Dave Correa.
Someone just popped in.
Yeah, he just popped in.
Dave. Hi, Dave. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Sorry.
And we've got IST Unlimited. ISIT Unlimited. Thank you for joining us. But that prompts me into my next question for you, Dave. US comic shops or UK? What do you?
Well, obviously, in the numbers game, I've been to probably you know, 4-1 US
Yeah.
comic shops to UK. I will say this. I had such good experiences at all the comic shops in the UK. You know, in London, I went to Mega City One, which is by far my favorite. Martin, the owner, really good dude. Gosh Comics was fantastic.
Yeah. The Notting
Nottingham Book
Hill.
Exchange was
Yeah.
okay. I actually like the bookstore more than the comic store, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
I think you know what it was. I'll give a little grace to the guy who was behind the counter at the comic book store. He was watching a football match, and he didn't want to talk to anybody.
Well, you know how us Brits, we love our football. So
Yeah, no, and I totally got it. But I enjoyed the bookstore next door because I found a lot of the UK sized annual magazines and
yes.
the weeklies and stuff, and they were cheap. They were like £1 or £2 each.
Yeah.
And then on the Scotland side, even though I know they don't want to be part of the United Kingdom, but it's still part of the United Kingdom. Deadhead Comics was fantastic. Heroes Aren't Hard to Find was amazing. Like all, and even had a great time at the Forbidden Planet in Glasgow.
Okay.
So you know, there was one shop, I won't name it, but I was very
Disappointed.
Yeah, I was really really disappointed in what they were doing. I'll just say they were putting facsimiles on the wall and charging like 5 times the
No.
cover price. Yeah, they weren't charging like key prices, but they were putting up a 5 or maybe what would be equivalent to a £5 or, you know, book and
Yeah.
putting it up for 20. I'm like, that's no good. But UK shops are great. They were really accommodating. But the US is, I got to take, actually, you know what? Can I give a shout out to the Canadian shops? Because the
Yeah,
Canadian
of course, yeah.
shops, I was up in Vancouver about a month ago, and every shop I went into, it didn't matter if the box was behind the counter, if the box was under the table, if it was, I could look through everything, and if it
Yeah.
wasn't priced, you get a good deal. So shout out to the Canadian shops because they beat both America and the UK.
Well done, the Canadians.
Yeah,
No,
but my favorite shops are in the US. I gotta give it up to the home country.
So what I will say is, about 2 years ago, I went to and did a video on Mega City Comics, and
Mhm.
I went to all the comic shops in London that were open,
Sure.
and I've got to say that that one is probably the best one in London.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's super clean, like everything's organized, everything's
Mhm.
got a price on it. Um, and again, I didn't get to see Martin, the owner, when at the time, but the two guys that were behind the counter, they went and got the boxes from the back, and I
Yep.
rooted through the good, like the good
The good
stuff.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
My
really good.
experience was the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Like, for anybody that doesn't know, Deadline #1 and The Warrior #1. Those were those were my 2 target comics when I went to London last year.
yeah.
And I talked to Martin, and he's like, "Oh, we were talking for a while," and I told him about those 2 books, and he's like, "Hold on one sec." Goes in the back. He's like, "I was gonna grade these. If you wanna buy them, here's the price." And I was like, "Done. Done."
Did you get a discount because you bought so much, or
Yeah,
yeah,
he did really good by me. He really did.
yeah.
And yeah, that clean shop, tons to dig through, good prices. And if you're looking for the newest stuff that's out, you get it. If you're looking for stuff that you would I mean, the Brian Bolland thing, right? He
Oh, he
donated
donated a load of his books, didn't he?
a portion of his collection, and they're
Yeah,
just selling stuff that Brian Bolland owned. It's like,
yeah.
you'll never see that anywhere in this country.
No. No, I mean, they're a really good comic shop because I'm sure they have like in-house signings and stuff, and like
Mhm.
for like big artists like
Big
that and
names, yeah.
big names. Yeah, they're really good comic shop. And I did go to that Notting Hill
But
book and comic exchange,
yeah.
and I I didn't film it. I'll be honest, but I should have filmed it. But again, I wasn't happy with the pricing.
Yeah.
I thought they
Yeah.
were for like the books without bags and boards, and they were like there were a lot, you know, like they were like what pound 50p books,
Yeah,
and
and
they're
they
like,
weren't
like
really
just £4 and stuff, and you're just like, nah, unfortunately.
the cultural difference in that, not in the actual overlying culture, but the cultural difference in comic shops is that supplies are not necessary. So like a lot of stores you will find most books aren't bagged, or if they're bagged, they're not boarded. And you know, when a book, when like, you know, they're falling over each other because the boxes aren't filled, I'm not going to spend my hard-earned money on what you're treating like crap. So, you know, like that was the thing with Deadhead Comics in Edinburgh. All of his books were £1 each or £2 each. Didn't matter what they were. I came home with 6 copies of Wolverine 88 for £2 each, you know, and it's because they're not bagged, they're not boarded, they're in whatever condition they're in, and I'm not going to complain about that. Like, if you complain about what the equivalent is in this country of dollar books, you got bigger problems than just your comic collecting habit.
So for people of the channel who may be not aware, but you sell comic books, so you buy in how many copies of Wolverine 88, you would have done that with a view to sell them.
Yes, because you know, I collect what I collect. But when I buy books, especially collections, that's how I make my living. I am a full-time comic seller. And it's my own business. I get to control every aspect of it, and it also, like, it's a trickle-down effect, right? I can buy stuff for cheap. I can buy collections. That means you can buy it for less than everybody else is selling it for. Everybody wins. You know,
is that your main? Is that your main job? Your business?
Yes, I will never work for another person ever again.
Are you lucky person?
Well, you know, I also have to work at it, and if you know, people stop buying comic books, then I'm going to be eating my words.
Well, I don't think we'll have any, you know, I know that the comic book market has gone down to what it was with the COVID, the pandemic. And that. I mean, if we could go back in a time machine to sell, we could rebuy our whole collections and still have quite a considerable amount of money.
Sure. But, you know, it also rose, you know, the floor was here before COVID. The floor is now here. So, you know, things will, and, you know, that's just how it is. But things come and go. They go up, they go down. I know comics aren't going anywhere. And the reason why I'm always pushing people to read more and to explore comics more is that I'm going to sell stuff that you don't know about. And one day you're going to forget, you're going to realize that you wanted that book. Like, you didn't know what Warrior Magazine 1 was or something. And one day you're going to be like, damn, I should have bought it when Dave was selling it, because you increase the amount of stuff that you know about, you increase the stuff you collect, you learn more. That means you're going to end up enjoying more.
What I really like about you, Dave, is the fact that you came over to the UK and you were specifically looking for UK books in order to sell back what you thought would do well selling back home. And you don't really get a lot of other business sellers or comic sellers doing that. You know what I mean? So hats off to you, buddy, because you're looking at, you know, a different angle to selling and making your business a bit more unique.
Sure. And that comes with me learning too. Like, if I learn more about the stuff that was released, and I'm not just talking about Pence copies, I'm like the annuals, the magazines, the, you know, the indie stuff. If I'm learning more and I'm showing my audience what I'm learning, it might push them to learn more. And I'm also happy to, like, I know it's a micro level, but if I can support the comic economy over there by spending my money,
of course, sure you are.
Or go up to Canada and do that. Like, everybody wins. Nobody loses except the American government, because you can't have my money. Anyway, sorry. I pay my taxes. I pay my taxes.
Haven't got the IRS in the chat, have we? No, we do have Cole Collects. Thank you for joining us. He's
I got to give this to Cole Collects. Hold on. West Coast DAVEngers.
Brilliant.
You know, when somebody puts it in caps like that with the extra S's, that means they want to hear. Yeah, they want to hear it.
But funny you should say about, you know, comparing like the businesses for like record stores. They went away for a while, and then resurfaced now because vinyl is popular again now.
Yeah, it's been well. It's. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut
No,
you
go
off.
on, go on, go on, sir. Go on.
It seems like it's still like a new thing that it's been repopularized, but vinyl has been trending upwards now for 20 years. It's
Yeah,
been 20. Like I got back into the vinyl game. I always collected records because my dad. Well, we could talk about this, whatever.
yeah,
But my dad would make tapes from the records. So he's like, buy it on vinyl. I'll make you a tape and you can listen to it at home on vinyl. And so I never stopped collecting records, but I did get back into it when they started making them again.
yeah,
And yeah, it's been like 20, almost 25 years since, I mean, Jack White's one of the reasons why it's gotten, like everybody's up in their game because of Third Man Records, but that's another conversation for another time.
Okay. What I was going to say is probably the best comic shop that I've been to in this country is it's actually a record store, and
Ooh,
the owner obviously purchases record collections,
sure.
and when he very open and honestly told us, he goes, when I went and bought a collection, and they threw in this comic collection which had
Mm.
Fantastic 452, first Dracula, Tomb of Dracula 1, like loads of really nice books. And it's probably what an hour's drive from me, and I went about 6 times like that, like
Smart.
just to keep going. Every time I was going back, I was spending, like a couple of £100 every time,
That's awesome.
until the point where like the owner took my mobile number, my phone number, and he would text me to say, we've had new stuff in, or all this stuff, and he'd even leave me in the store by myself and go and get me a coffee. Like, have you ever known such a thing?
It happens with everyone. I've gotten some trust from some store owners like that, but it's very few and far between. And I love that. I love
Yeah.
that.
But I mean, how great is it, like that feeling when you establish a relationship with a comic store owner, and you take your books to the counter, and it comes to, I don't know, let's say 50, 60 pounds,
Mhm.
$70, and they go, you know what, you can have it for $50, you can have it for 4, like that sort of stuff. It really leaves an impression on you.
Once again, it's the trickle down effect. They know if they hook you up, you're coming right
Coming
back
back,
next week.
yeah.
Yeah. We
They're
had a
like
shop.
drug dealers, aren't they?
Yeah.
First,
Yeah.
first one's free.
Yeah. No, drug dealers without the addictive. Well, no, it's okay.
Well,
You're
yeah.
right. No, look, I'm sober 10 years, so I know. Um, but it is the same thing, except comics will not kill you. Records will
No,
not kill you.
no.
But we had a shop here in outside of Seattle called Ancient Comics, probably the best comic store in the Seattle area, period, ever. And owner Jeff would do the same thing. Like I established a relationship with him, and then I would come in and I would just stack his stuff, and he would be like, just give me $100, and it'd be like $150,
Yeah, yeah,
whatever it is. And I try to do that with people. I when I'm as a seller, I pre-negotiate for people. It takes a lot of people by surprise where I'm like, don't worry, you're not going to find this anywhere else cheaper. Here you go. But if I'm always happy to give people a deal. Um, that's great customer business owner relationship. That's all. It's
yeah.
what it should be.
But going back to that, the Notting Hill comic exchange, I
Yeah.
wasn't trying to, like, knock their store, because I would never dream of doing that. But I think probably the very fact that they're in Notting Hill,
Yeah.
that increases the prices when
Sure.
shops outside of main tourism, they'll be a bit more reasonable. So
Yeah. My friend used to call. She grew up in London. She used to call it Snotting Hill.
it's
You
Notting
know.
Hill, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So makes sense.
Yeah, no, 100%. But we shall move on to the next question, which I think is really big. The next question, Dave, is what the hell was it like interviewing Todd McFarlane? How the hell did that happen? And are you still talking to him?
So okay. It took 6 months for it to happen. I had to get in touch with somebody that and then eventually got in touch with his assistant and PR person.
Yeah,
But when it did, it happened very fast. they were supposed to happen actually the same week as the Matt Nelson interview. And they hit me up and they said, look, he has to cancel. We got to push it back like 2 weeks. I was like, that's fine. You know, she's like, I'll let you, I'll be in touch later this week and we'll give you a couple of options. She got in touch with me like 3 or 4 days later and said, how about next Monday? I'm like, okay. Yeah. and you know, I have been preparing for this since I started the channel. Like mentally, I had gone through this interview in my head multiple times, and I've been writing down questions as I think of them in a notebook. So I was like, all right, how about 1 p.m. Pacific? And I was like, you know, that's 2 p.m. Arizona time. They were like, that's fine.
Yeah.
Except they did not say that he was going to be in LA when he shot the interview. And it's so that day rolls around and it's like 12:30, or maybe it was like 12. And I'm like, all right, I was all set up and ready to go, just like I am now. I was like, let me just open up the StreamYard and make sure he doesn't come in earlier, because there were like some weird mixed wires on the emails.
Yeah.
Sure enough, 12:30, like 40 minutes or whatever before he was supposed to show up, he just pops up into the stream, and I'm like, and I have the microphone on, everything's on. I'm like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. And so if you watch the end of the interview that I posted, there's like a little B-roll of him saying, oh shit, that's him mocking me, because he heard me
saying,
say
oh
that.
shit.
But he was, you know, but he also recognizes, like, we talked before I hit record, and he was like, yeah, I guess they got the times mixed up. So he, you know, it's a good sport, and he also understands like people are people. And so whenever I do an interview, as prepared as I am, I literally am nervous for the first 30 seconds or 40 seconds. I always screw something up in the introduction, and I said, I'm 1979 to him, which I was trying to say I'm born in 1979, but I just said I'm 1979, like I'm the embodiment of the year.
Of that year.
Yeah, or I'm the Smashing Pumpkins song. But anyway, after that, it was smooth sailing. We paused a couple of times because he was like, the reason why he was in LA was his dad he was taking care of his dad. Yeah. And so we paused a couple of times. He gave me,
he was in like a wardrobe or something, wasn't he?
He was in his closet, like, yeah, because it's the quietest room in the house that he was in, and his dad was sleeping. His dad's like 90 something years old. But anyway, it was, you know, I couldn't have asked for more. He was so good with his time, and because he wasn't in, like, I was purposefully asking questions to get him out of standard Todd mode, you know, where he does his, like, if you watch a lot of the bigger podcasts he does, like Tim Ferriss or some of those, you know, million subscriber podcasts, he has his CEO and his Todd shtick. My job was to make sure that he was not doing that. And man, I couldn't have asked for better talk with him, and it was fantastic. I'm trying to get another one with him. But I think what they do is they, you know, he hops around to podcasts because his idea is like, I got to keep my name in everybody's mouths and get all these different audiences.
Yeah.
It'll happen again. I just don't think it's going to happen until I'm going to try and get him on when the new Gunslinger series comes out, because Jimmy Palmiotti's writing it, and like, it's a good point for me to like talk about, because I'm really interested in the book.
Yeah.
Or low key goal is to get him and Greg Capullo on, because they are releasing a Spawn Vault Edition 3. So it's the artist edition, and it's going into Capullo's first 15 or 20 issues, because, you know, Todd did the first, whatever it is, 15 issues.
Greg took over, didn't he?
Yes, it would be awesome to get them both on, because I'm pretty sure Todd was doing most of the, well, Danny Mickey might have been doing the inks, but anyway, it'd be nice to have them both on to talk about it. But look, if it doesn't happen again for a while, I'm still really, really stoked about how that all played out. And like, I got some stuff on record that he's never talked about, at least in the YouTube era.
Yeah. And this is the particular video. So if you definitely go and check out that video, it is amazing. What I will say is I have got a little clip to play. I hope you don't mind
Sure.
the copyright, but
I'm not going to say it. My lawyers don't exist.
but in this particular clip, I've chosen it because I think you pulled something out on Todd that he was like, oh wow, oh wow, and then he accused you of being a stalker. So
Yes, yes, he did.
I will play that clip.
Put together the list when I have everything, but I'm going to blow your mind because 1986 or 85, you gave Colin Upton a piece of art for one of his zines. Is there for Jam Up Spot?
See, that would have been one of the one I would have forgotten about.
Well,
so you're way hardcore or you're a stalker. I don't know.
No, I'm just hardcore.
I'm just hardcore. Believe me, I'm not a stalker.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not in Phoenix as we speak. I've never been outside of Todd's offices, although I'd love to see them. But
by the way, how are Todd's new curtains? Are they looking nice from the outside?
they just got a new car. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but it's honestly, it's a fantastic interview, and ever since I became aware of your channel a few years ago, I've always had that you're saying "see Todd, buy Todd" in my head.
Yeah,
and in one of my recent videos, actually, I come across a Todd McFarlane comic, and I'll play the clip now. But now, to quote a certain YouTuber, "see Todd, buy Todd." You kind of leave like, oh, sorry, go on.
I'm gonna need one of those. You're gonna have to find me one of those.
I'll tell you something now. If I don't think I'll be able to find one for the same price, but I'll try and find you one. I'll help you out.
Yeah, whatever.
But that you know, I always think back as well to that interview towards the end. I think it is. You've got the stickers, and I'll quickly just share that clip as well. And to quote Dave from West Coast DAVEngers, "You see Todd, you buy Todd." But you've got that, showing that little sticker off with Todd McFarlane is amazing.
Yeah, he was really gracious on that, and I think he appreciated it. And man, it's just, it's like catchphrases, right? I grew up in the 80s. Like every movie had a catchphrase. Everything had a catchphrase. I wanted to have a catchphrase, and it was a natural one. Like I said, first episode of my channel, if you go all the way to the first episode, I say it right there. And even and then there's the Sankowitz. I sing a little song about Bill Sienkiewicz. Sankowitz.
Yeah. So Derek is saying the call was coming from inside Todd's house.
It's true. It's true.
But fantastic video. And that just in terms of, have you thought about any other people to come onto the channel? Like as I dare say, as big as or as Todd?
Well, I mean, there are a couple names I don't think I'll ever get, like Neil Gaiman on there. Sienkiewicz is probably the next one on my list, and I've had contact with his manager, and so it'll happen eventually. It's just I like, the thing is, it's tough because certain people don't want to do it unless they have something to promote, which makes sense, right? Like take time out of their day. And then some people it's just impossible to get in touch with. Like I don't know how to get in touch with Trad Moore, and I really want Trad Moore. I really want to interview him. I've had Liefeld tell me he's busy, and like I got to hit him back up, and Silvestri's people.
Because he's no longer doing anything for Marvel now, is he?
No, he's still gonna pimp out anything he's got going on, and it seems like his IPs are ramping up a little bit. Like I know Evangeline just got optioned by Margot Robbie's production company.
Yeah,
I hope he gets to see something that he created on screen. Like he deserves it. Besides Deadpool, obviously, something that he can take all the money from.
That would be a very interesting interview, I think, because he's quite the character, isn't he?
Yes, and the thing is, with a guy like Liefeld, I know the conversation I want to have with him. I just need to have it with him. Like he is he is such a comics enthusiast, and like there's so many things that he talks about on his podcast that I'm like yelling, and not at him. I'm yelling with him. I'm like, yeah, that's you know.
Yeah.
And I think he would be a great person to chat with. I feel like we could have a 2-hour conversation and barely scratch the surface.
Yeah. No, 100%. That would be an amazing interview. So if we move on to the next question, fingers crossed for you, Dave.
Yeah.
If we move on to the next question, cents or pence. So obviously you've been over to the UK, you've looked at UK price variants. You are well aware of them. What is your thought process on, are they more rare?
Oh yeah, they're underrated. They're definitely more rare. I know John from Bronze and Modern Gods has been yelling at people for years to buy these UK pence variants. You don't see them that often. I mean, when I went over there, I didn't even see as many as I thought I would. You know, Mega City 1 was basically the only place I saw more than like 5 and any keys in pence. Maybe I've had 2 or 3 since doing this. They're pretty cool. I think that they are kind of like inherently lower grade on the average.
Paper quality probably maybe a bit.
Yeah. So I think they're pretty cool. I don't really collect them, but if I found one in let's say a Todd book, I'd keep it.
Yeah.
But I would imagine there's only like, there might not even be
a Todd.
Yeah.
No, I'm trying to think. No, I don't think there might not be one, you know.
No, because we were talking about how like the 80s they started to taper off, in his first major book, because Coyote would not have come out in the UK as a pence variant. So 423 and maybe Batman 423 would be the only one I think that could be a pence variant, because it's a big enough book. But
I'll be brutally honest with you. I don't think there's not like a pence variant of the thing, but there's that copy that I had, which is like the magazine size.
Right.
That's
the closest thing. Yeah. So, you know, I mean, it would be nice to have like I don't know if House of Secrets has a pence variant or Swamp Thing 1. Those two I would dig.
I don't think I've seen them, but the thing is for me, Dave, is that for me, I've always been a snob. So I've always wanted cents comics.
Sure.
But I've always turned my head, you know, look the other way at pence. And I've got to say, ever since the pandemic, when, you know, books just became ridiculously priced.
Sure.
And as a collector, my eyes were basically, oh, actually, I can get the pence copy for, you know, 20-30% off.
Yeah.
Price. And slowly but surely now, my collecting taste has changed, and I'm kind of drawn to them a bit more.
That's cool. Yeah,
especially the magazines. It's like I think one of your I can't remember which video it was where you went straight to like the magazine section. That's literally me.
That's how I am these days.
Because if there's a Warrior #1 in there, you know, or you know, a Marvel preview issue #7, first Rocket Raccoon, like those books, like for me, I'm like, always first to them if I see them.
I think it's natural in the like life of a collector that if you're like, who wants to stay stagnant and look at the same thing over and over and over? Like, I can't imagine a life in general of like wanting the same thing and nothing else. And magazines, like anybody that gives they're too big, shut up, you know. Just shut up. Like that excuse works nowhere in the human's life. Like, it doesn't fit into this box. Like, imagine being that vanilla. But like the secrets, and I'm not kidding you, the secrets that magazines hold for a comic person, there's so much in there. Like that Marvel premiere, like you said, the Rocket Raccoon, there's the Moon Knight one with that beautiful Sienkiewicz painted cover. Yeah. And like, but like just in general, there's so much. And then when you go to the UK as an American and you start seeing these annuals and these weekly mags that have black and white Kirby art or black and white John Buscema art, or I can see, you know, I bought one of the ASM hardcover annuals with the Todd cover. It's got the 301 cover, and it's like I'm getting a little bit bigger version of these comic books that I've looked at since I was a kid. There's just a little more to look at. There's more real estate. Yeah. So when people are like, "Oh, it doesn't fit," I'm like, "You're looking at it the wrong way. I get more for the money I'm spending." And how many times could you look at ASM 300 on your wall? Yeah. You know, like, and there you go. Cole, Eerie magazines hold Frazetta. They hold Boris. They hold Bernie Wrightson. They hold Mike Kaluta. Like all of this art in between these pages of these beautiful magazines.
Beautiful, yeah.
Yeah, like you know, I don't care. Like I'm not worried about losing ground on getting all the magazines I want. Like I'm going to keep talking about them. I'm going to keep selling them. And if people don't catch on, that's on them.
The artwork from that stuff in the 70s was just insane, especially with like the depictions of how females were drawn and just all very over sexualized, you know.
Yeah, really lots of gore too, lots of good violence, like Richard Corbin making, you know, a bunch of naked people cutting each other up, and you know, like just bring on the weirdness.
But again, like you said, beautiful cover, but then you know, I imagine it is probably disappointing for some people when you open it and it's just black and white. But you know, it's uniqueness, isn't it? But
yeah, I mean, you know, but I also am a big fan of looking at. Well, I'm a big original art guy, so I like seeing that stuff in its.
Yeah, you're gonna have black and white art, you know.
Yeah.
We've got Cole Collector's got a question for you. He's asking actually how many Turok issue number 1s do you have?
I mean, I probably have 30 in a box over there because I give them out. You know, I sign them and I put them in with, you know, I do giveaways. I you know, it's like my little calling card. Like, if you get a signed Turok from me,
isn't there like there's obviously the standard one, but isn't there like a more rare one? Like a
there's the gold. Yeah, there's the gold one. I think there's like 5,000 copies of that.
Okay, so that's a bit more collectible.
Yeah, right. Maybe even 10,000. It's Valiant, so everything was overproduced.
Yeah. Cole Collector says the Eerie magazines are stunning as well. Yeah. Just like those con flyers you've been showing, Dave, full of hidden gems.
Yeah, I've been doing flip throughs on my channel of old San Diego Comic-Con programs, and it's going to be something I'm going to keep doing. I've been kind of loading up on buying old Comic-Con programs to see what they were like even before I was going to them. And then I've been buying original art catalogs from the 70s. And I just recorded, it'll come out in a couple weeks, but I just recorded a flip through of this old 50-year-old original art catalog. And I gave myself $2,200 in 1974 money and see what I could buy. And I came away with probably about $200,000 in original art. Yeah. When you can buy a Frank Frazetta painting for $1,000, I think you're doing the right thing.
You're doing the right thing.
You know, I don't have a time machine, so it's all in what would I do?
What would you do? No, but like in terms of the magazines, though, like I probably about 2 months ago had to buy a magazine size comic box just to store these oversized comics in, because I've been literally buying them left, right, and center. So
yeah, I have 4 magazine boxes just to my left here, and another 4 in the garage.
Oh wow! So is that collection or is that stuff to sell or both?
Most of the ones to my left here are collection, and then everything in the garage is selling.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I can't quit collecting magazines. I can't.
Brilliant. So the next question, Dave, is I'm hoping that people are watching. If people don't know, but probably 6 months ago, you and a good friend of ours, Manu, the 9.9 newsstand, have the chance to sit down and chat with Matt Nelson, the president of CGC Comics.
Yes.
So that video, again, I suggest if you haven't already, for people watching, please go and watch that video. it is a great interview. You guys, I thought that you guys handled that interview really well.
Nice.
I don't think, I think if you went in there all gung ho, and you know, he wouldn't off the bat, he wouldn't answer questions, or you know,
not at all.
I liked it because how fair you guys were. I'm a big believer being fair. And so for you guys to go in there and ask difficult questions, you know, and get like a reasonable answer from the guy, it was really good. Really good.
Yeah, I mean, look, he guy is president of a multi-million, you know, maybe even $500 million business. He's not dealing with journalists. He's dealing with you know, a YouTuber and you know, another person. what am I gonna go in and be like,
what is Manu like?
As a person.
He actually got named, didn't he, in the
lawsuit. Yeah,
was he an Instagram influencer or something like that?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what they call them. But yeah, like I'm not looking to make an enemy here. I'm just trying to
no, of course, no,
get a little bit more of what's been going on. I knew that we weren't going to get that. I mean, they were in the middle of an ongoing investigation. But
did he give like any sort of indication prior to your interview, or you know, like I'm not allowed to talk about this, that, and that because it's an ongoing investigation, or there's a
we had to submit the questions beforehand, and to be 100% transparent, there was one question that he said they won't answer, and it was about like I ended up asking a different version of it on the spot. It was when I think we were talking to, like, it was something about the database of names and like keeping track of stuff, and they wouldn't answer that. But there was no other question that they told us we couldn't ask. There was no there was nothing done beforehand other than us submitting the questions. And I'd have to watch the interview back again, but it was something that I figured out a way to ask it in a different way. But no, they were good about everything, you know, up until like not telling us all that was going on, but it's an active investigation. And in the aftermath of it, it was just like, you know, personally for me, I'm not a huge fan of the slabbing thing, right? Like I've talked about that.
I was going to say it must have been, you probably had to bite your tongue maybe, or, you know, hold back a little bit because you are very not saying you're very anti-slab, but you know, you're not a particular fan of it.
No, I'm not, because of the, you know, the power that's given to one company. I'm not a fan of absolute power, and nobody should be. You know, we look at certain things. Absolute power is not a good thing, especially for the collecting industry. But as a seller, as a dealer, I gotta. There's some things that I have to. Anyway, the aftermath of it, personally, there was a lot of stress on my shoulders on this. Like, I'm not used to getting comments that are
negative.
Yeah, like beyond negative. That's not my vibe.
Yeah.
As much as I don't want to look at them, you look at them.
Well, you can't help it though. It's human nature, isn't it? You can't.
Yes. But other than that, the aftermath, I did get a lot of new people on the channel, which was great. We put this scandal on blast, which was great. People are a little more aware of what this company does and doesn't do. That's also great.
Yeah.
Did it have a long-term effect? I don't think so. I think people forgot about it. You know, it was, for me, I couldn't. You know, this is like 3.5, 4 months of my life, like every single day, thinking, talking, whatever.
Yeah, because you and Manu were very at the forefront of, you know, that exposing that scandal.
Yeah. He found it, came to me, we put it out there. Like, there was nobody else that knew about it until he put the post out, and then we went live on YouTube. And you know, with the help of Comic Wiz on the forum, Joe. We found a lot of stuff. There's still stuff I know about that I just can't talk about because I don't I can't substantiate it. So
Yeah.
I can't just be like, yes, my gut tells me this and what I've seen. And then, you know, everybody kind of jumped on making their videos and doing this and pretending like they discovered something when they didn't. But
to be fair, everybody was talking about it. It's literally every notification that I had from YouTube was, you know, CGC scandal, CGC scam. You know, it was pretty a big thing to happen in the community. To be fair,
it was, and it's kind of sad that it didn't make actual news, because like this is millions of dollars fraudulently made, because this guy was doing it for like a decade, and then, you know, it comes out that they have 2 lawsuits going on at the same time.
Oh no, yeah, it just added to the craziness, didn't it?
Yeah. You know, people really need to understand where they're putting their money, and I, unfortunately, like I said, I hate it. My skin crawls when I have to like submit stuff and then try and sell it. But I do it because like I don't want to miss a piece of the pie. Like I'm trying to make a living here.
You're a business, you're trying to make money, you know.
Yeah, you know. I mean, they're luckily, and I know people even have had problems with me saying this, comic books don't kill people. So like I know that CGC is not dropping, you know, comic books on refugees somewhere and killing them. but it's still, it's like if that company had just kind of gone away, and I don't mean in because of the scandal, just gone away, like if the fad, but we've given so much power to this company to tell us what our comic books are worth. We traded one shitty price guide for the other, you know?
Yeah.
But the scandal was, it was wild to be part of that. I've never been part of anything like that. I've never been at the forefront of anything like that. I know Manu hasn't either. Like this was new ground for both of us. But you know, it is what it is. You know, shit happens. You move on. I will say this: that Matt Nelson interview happened. It was all nice and great. And then the Todd McFarlane interview happened. I'm like, I don't care about CGC. I'm here for Todd.
Let's get back to the positive. You know.
Yeah. But it was tough.
I was going to say it must have been hard then for you with because I know as I'm a huge CGC collector. I'm probably what they call a CGC fanboy, but that's just because I've got an addiction. But
well, you can collect. Look, just because I don't like it doesn't mean I shit on people that do like it.
Yeah. No, I recognize that I kind of like, I love the aesthetic of seeing them in those cases, even though it probably ruins the fact that you can't read them. But I mean, I would never ever tell anybody go and get that graded.
Yeah,
don't read your comic books or anything like that. But I kind of understand where, with the, you know, particularly the people who detest CGC or love CGC, that video would have invoked emotions, you know, either side of the, you know, the coin, for comments aimed at you and Manu for no particular reason, because you're just literally interviewing a guy, you know. It's not as if you're, you know, it's not like Matt Nelson has committed an atrocious crime and you're trying to get him prove that he's guilty, and like, you know, do you know what I mean? It's
no, and right, like he runs the company. He did not like, I don't think this dude was looking at books coming in and just like pushing them away and be like, yeah, these are fine, you know, like he's not.
He's just the spokesperson, you know, the figurehead of the company. And to be fair, I think he came across quite well, like as much as he could, if you know what I mean.
As much as he could. I mean, in hindsight, maybe they definitely knew a little bit more than they were letting on. But look, at the end of the day, we were just hoping to invoke some change in the company, you know, change in policies, change in the slab, change in the way that they treat our things, because we're sending them our things. And now people are, you know, and it causes a panic. You know, you have so many people messaging that's just like, well, you think my Canto 198 could be fake? I'm like, oh, you know, but that's just the way the world works. You know, you say fire and everybody's like, I'm burning to death. And I'm like, no, it's just over here.
Well, you basically had people worrying about their investments and their comics, and the other side of the people going, "Ha ha! I told you so. Can't trust them," you know.
And I never said that to people. I never said like, "Oh, well, I've been saying this the whole time." Although I did say it was the whole time that it was a scam. But you know, I'm not trying to make people feel bad. But like I am a mouth with a lot to say, and I'm gonna speak it. But I never, never expected somebody, so many people to leave a comment that says you and Matt Nelson should get a room. But then again, here's the thing, and I won't go too deep into it, but the people on the internet that write things like that, they're actually not real people.
Yeah.
So I've never had anybody come up to my face and say the shit that they would say behind a keyboard.
Of course,
because they won't.
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree. They
Positivity, they will.
They wouldn't have what we call here in the United Kingdom the bollocks.
There you go, the bollocks. That's the thing, right? Like I've had people come up to me and say such really, really kind things to me about my channel, but I've never had somebody come up to me and say those negative things. So when I see people in the chat that are saying negative things, I'm just like, oh, you're not a real person. When I see somebody like actual Dracula, Adrian, I actually met Adrian in person in North Carolina. He's a real person. And he also never says anything really mean.
He's not an actual Dracula then.
No, actually, I'm sorry. He is not a real person. He is an undead person. He really is a vampire. It was weird. We met and he we went like embrace, and then he bit my neck and I was like, come on, man. Not here. I've got blood for you elsewhere.
Obviously, you didn't turn because you didn't drink his blood back. Is that what?
No, I didn't.
Oh, yeah.
But the CGC things in the, it is what it is. It happened. I'm glad that we were able to expose it, and a lot of people got their money back, which is absolutely the most important thing.
Yeah.
That
was all down to you guys finding that out. That's amazing.
Yeah. And I know Manu has had the same people come up to him and say the same things and tell them the story about getting their money back and stuff. So like at the end of the day, I could care less about anything else. Like my friend Jason had a couple of books that were on the list and he got exactly what he wanted back.
Oh, brilliant. That's good. Yeah. Really, that's really positive news, to be fair.
Yeah.
Cole Klexer says, any scandal in recent years has been forgotten about, to be fair. Remember at the acetate gate? Yeah, I remember that.
And acetate gate was perpetuated by just shitty business, shitty people doing shitty business things. And that's the kind of comic culture I do not want to be part of at all.
Yeah. No, to be fair, you're one of the good guys, mate. So
well, I try. What happens in here though, man, that imposter syndrome is real.
Brilliant. Right, let's get to the next question. I've just lost where I am. Sorry.
Can we? I just want to address Pad Bear's question.
Sorry.
Now that I've bashed CGC, I do have to just mention that yes, there was an item I was missing from my collection, and it came to me in a trade just recently, and I'm very happy that I now own a House of Secrets 92.
Beautiful.
I may crack it out. I love this book. I love Bernie Wrightson. I love Swamp Thing. I got to read it. I read it like a year and a half ago because I read the first run of Swamp Thing, and included in that is the origin. But this was the last book I cared about. This is the last big book off my list. What I haven't managed to find yet is probably some original art that who knows if I'll ever find it.
What original artwork are you after?
I mean, I really want a page of Todd's that has Spider-Man or Mysterio or Venom on it. One of those three characters.
Yep.
And I still want to find, I think I need 2 more ASM Mark Jewelers to complete the entire McFarlane run of Mark Jewelers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What issues are they?
I think I need 328, the Hulk issue. And I can't remember if 298 or 299, one of them has a Mark Jewelers, one of them doesn't. And it's the one that does that I need.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. And 300 doesn't have one, so I don't ever have to look for that.
Well, I will keep my eyes open, sir, as they say.
Well, thank you. I found some jewelers when I was over in the UK last year.
Did you?
Yeah. Yeah, I found a couple at Mega City One.
Oh yeah. To be fair, so were they marked up as that, or were they just you having a quick glance, seeing that
No,
they
they
were?
weren't marked. Yeah.
So Manu said an interesting concept. He said that he can spot a mark if it's got a marked jewelers in it by just looking at the cover.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, you can as well.
Yeah, I can also, like, I know it's gonna sound weird. It's not actually true, but I tell people I can smell them.
You can smell them. Intuition. So is it right? Well, shall I? Well, I'm not going to say it just in case it is. I don't want to spoil them. But afterwards, remind me to tell it to. Well, because I've got a couple, and I always think it's yeah. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. We've got Mutant Academy Gaming. Daniel, thank you for joining us. And comics are for nerds. Yes, they are.
This is a factual statement.
Yeah, we're not going to argue that fact, Daniel.
But I will say this: nerds kick ass.
Brilliant. So this brings us on to the big question, the very big question: Oasis or Blur? No, definitely, maybe.
What? Oh, sorry. I was just about to start singing Park Life.
No. Did you notice I did that? Put Park Life for the Instagram story.
I did notice that. I did.
Look,
I'll just say this. Oasis has some great songs, right? Everybody loves their Wonderwall and their Champagne Supernova and their Don't Look Back in Anger. But can you name an Oasis song that isn't those?
I can, yeah.
Okay, you can, right? Oasis has a couple good albums. Blur has a career of good albums. Blur gets better. They change their sound a little bit.
Yeah.
They're more of the everyman's UK sound.
See, I see, growing up, Blur to me was always second fiddle to Oasis.
Well, that's because the loudest mouth idiots are the two main components of Oasis.
And that was their downfall.
Yep. Yeah, they can't even get along. See, there you go. Oasis doesn't care about getting back together or making new music. I want to say the C word so bad, but I won't. They are that. They are that. But, like, look, strip away the Beatles from the sound of Oasis, and what do you have?
What?
Exactly. Silence. Nothing.
No, but in terms of, like, Oasis, they if they got back together now, and they go, right, we're doing a world tour.
Oh, it would do gangbusters.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't they do that? Just
because they hate each other.
I know, but just do it. Like, for me, like, my introduction into Blur was the first song I ever liked of theirs, or when I heard it was I got a PlayStation 1.
Oh yeah.
And there was there's a football game on it called FIFA.
Yep.
And song 2 was like the main, like the intro song, and that like that I was obsessed with that. I'd listen to that like practically the whole way through before the game started. But Oasis will always have a special place in my heart because me and my brother, we were on a coach journey, and he had I think it was like either probably like Definitely Maybe or some of that on. He had like do you remember mini disc?
Oh yeah, of course.
He had a mini disc player, and I was like, oh my god, what is this? This is amazing. Like, this is not like a tape. What is this? And I listened to it all the way, like there and back. I would not give it him back. And I was just singing Oasis like at the top of my lungs on this coach, and I kept getting hit by my brother going, shut the fuck up, quiet. People like you're singing really loud. I was like, oh,
yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah,
I mean,
go on. So
no, so unfortunately in the US, Blur got big with song 2, and that was it. Like Girls and Boys and Girls, was also big. When I saw them when I was really young. I saw them when I was like 16 or 17 at a big radio show. But I kind of hate that song 2 got so popular here because it did, it became their only song. But I look at Damon, right? I look at Damon Albarn as like a musical genius. Like this man, he just keeps, you know,
reinventing
himself. Reinventing himself. First, he reinvents Blur like 3 different times, but then he arguably creates one of the biggest bands in the world after
Gorillaz.
Yeah, after being Blur. And it's like this dude just, he's got something. But when I used to listen, when I first got into Gorillaz, I went back to Blur. And I was like, this is like, I listened to this and I'm like, I want to live in the UK when I listen to them. And I don't hate Oasis. Like Oasis is a great band, but I don't like the two of them. And I think that like they were just always such jerks. And I'm just like, could never support them monetarily. But you know, Blur was just one of those. And then you go back and you watch some of their videos and they have some of the best music videos. You know, Coffee and TV is a fantastic video. The Universal is a fantastic video. It's a homage to Clockwork Orange. And it's just like my fascination with UK culture really starts with Blur, but Gorillaz too. Like
what was the name of the Gorillaz first hit? That
Clint Eastwood. Yeah, Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, that's it, Clint Eastwood. Yeah, I remember years ago seeing, or maybe not even a year, maybe I don't know. I can't remember when it was. Damon did he was on some sort of show or something, and I never realized that the intro for that was a keyboard demo.
Yep. It's a Casio keyboard, the mini Casio keyboard demo.
And then looking back, I'm like, oh my God, because we used to do like music at school, you know, like a music lesson, and everybody would just be playing the demos all the time. And I was like, oh my God, that is one of those demos. Like, that is crazy.
He makes one of the biggest hits of the early 2000s with a demo. I mean, I'm a huge music person. I mean, we talked about this, but like I look at him, I look at a guy like Trent Reznor and I look at Dave Grohl. I'm just like, we get to live in the same timeline as these three human beings that have made music that is connected to millions of people across different bands. You know, Grohl with Nirvana and Foo Fighters, Damon with Blur, Gorillaz, and his other side projects. And then Trent is just him. Like, it's just him. Like, everything else is like, he's picking people out and being like, you're in the band. You're my partner. You're in the, you know, but to tie in also with the comics and Damon, you know, Jamie Hewlett, the co-creator and co-founder of Gorillaz, like, I watched Tank Girl as a kid. I did not know that it was a comic, and then found out it was a comic, and then Gorillaz comes around and I'm instantly like interested in Jamie Hewlett in a different level now. The same way that I'm like going back and listening to Blur, and like my music love and listening in comics and movies is all the same. Like, the things I love, let me go back and check out what influenced them. Or what, you know, what causes a guy like Damon and Jamie to get together. And then tying it into Mega City 1, Martin told me the story that they had the premiere party for Deadline Comics at the store.
That's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I think you didn't you put some of the photos in the video?
I think I got them off their Facebook. This is the greatest wood.
Look at the comments now.
Derek, how could you be such a good person and insult me so much?
This is the greatest and most British insult of all. It's just a Dave chimney sweep. Come on, Dave. When you have a girl at your house, what Blur song are you going to put on? Answer nothing. You're going to put on Wonderwall?
No, I'm going to put on Country House.
Country House. No, but to be fair, I've got to stick up for Oasis because I do love them. But like Talk Tonight, She's Electric, like some might say those are some of my favorite songs. But
sure, I like taking the piss, and I like Blur versus Oasis, and I'm always going to be a Blur fan over Oasis. But you know, if I ever met Noel or Liam, I'd be like, just why are you such an asshole?
I know, man. Why can't you just? Oh,
yeah. You know, look, if Guns N' Roses, Oasis, by the way, the rumor was when I went to go see Oasis, Blur at Wembley last year, was that 2 years Oasis is going to play Wembley, and it's going to be the, you know, they're going to do like 2 nights, 3 nights. It's going to be the biggest shows that have ever.
It probably would. It'd probably be bigger than Taylor Swift at the moment. So
I think in terms of UK culture for sure. I don't know if you can get bigger than Taylor Swift worldwide at this point.
No, not worldwide.
Yeah, she's a Michael Jackson status right now. Like she's about to just, you know, and good for her. She does nothing but good things for music.
Yeah, my 9-year-old daughter, she's absolutely obsessed with her. She has got her like her vinyl album for like the I think like Reputation and the latest one, which is like some Poets Society or something like that. She's 9 years old, man. She's like, she just lives and breathes Taylor Swift.
You know, I think in terms of just like, if we're saying about general like culture and how pop music works, like if I had a kid and that kid was listening to Taylor Swift and had this person to listen, I'd be like, I had my people, you've got yours. Like, this is awesome. We don't, because of like the access to information these days, like we don't have those water cooler moments anymore where we get to talk about this, like this thing that captures the zeitgeist in a good way. And I think she's great for that. And she's, you know, she writes her own songs and she works.
Oh yeah, she's incredibly talented.
Yeah. Like not my cup of tea, but I'm not going to bash her as much as I used to when I was like, I don't care about that garbage.
Yeah. Now what I've got to say is, you know, a few years ago, I wouldn't have said very positive things in terms of, you know, it wouldn't be my cup of tea as that. Say. But sitting in a car journey, you know, to and from like France with my wife and daughter, playing that all the way there, all the way back. The songs do stick. Some of them do. Yeah. You're like, so I can't really grumble.
No, I mean, that's right. Isn't that the great thing about music though? When it hits, you're like, whoa.
Yeah. Daniel from Munich Academy Gaming says maybe it is British, but taking the piss is a British trait after all.
It's true.
Derek said I like both equally. I'm just taking the piss. Yeah. Well,
I do want to. Sorry. I do want to show off something that I pulled out for this because big autograph collector I used to be, and I have a Plastic Beach signed by Jamie Hewlett, Damon, Paul Simonon, Bobby Womack, Mick Jones from The Clash, and Yukimi from Little Dragon. So, you know,
is that you've got them signed personally, or you bought it? That
No, I got it signed October, whenever Plastic Beach Tour came around New York. So it was like October 2011 or 2012. Yeah, I got it signed by everybody. But yeah, I like you know, I got to meet Jamie Hewlett in person. I got a sketch from him. I've met Damon now twice, and very nice people.
Did he remember you?
No, not at all. I'm very, you know, easy to forget, you know, on the street.
No, but not when you turn up at his house at to 4 o'clock in the morning.
Right. And I say,
remember you then.
Damon, are you going to write a song about me?
Derek has put, plus she fights back against
man.
That's right. For the record line to Ticketmaster, she's all about the fans. Well, what I will say is
does a lot of charity work too.
Yeah, I did attempt to buy tickets for my daughter when she played at Wembley, like £1,200.
Yeah. The modern ticket getting and the modern concerts. I mean, just post pandemic, it's all like everything has just gotten out of hand post COVID. And it's out of her control. You know, like she does what she can. You know, Pearl Jam does what they can. Certain bands, they do what they can. But we live in a world where the corporation Ticketmaster is the king. Like there is nothing you can do about it anymore.
What I will say though is February next year I will be seeing Bowling for Soup. So I'm really
nice. That is a long ways away to have those tickets already.
I know. They announced they announced like a pre-sale thing like probably like 2 weeks ago, and I just jumped on it and I thought, screw it, I'll go get it.
James, you're now a Swiftie, huh?
I'm that. Yep. You heard it first here. I'm a Swiftie. Mutant Academy Gaming. I'm in the past.
Alien Ant Farm.
Yep. Alien Ant Farm's great.
Yeah. Well, they got. Speaking of Michael Jackson, that's where their popularity came from. Is the Smooth Criminal cover.
Yep.
Yeah, they're a good band. A lot of energy.
Yep. So next question, Dave. The Many Faces of Jack Kirby. What is this all about? What is it? This is is it a fanzine? Is it?
Yeah, it's a zine. Yeah, it's a self-published zine. So I'll give you the I do have a video on the channel with Andrew P. And big shout out to Andrew P, homie, that did all the design for it. But wow.
I have got I'll tell you something. I have got a video we can play if that's okay.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Let's roll the clip, James.
Just roll the clip. So can we talk over this?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
So long story short, or short story, I did an interview with my second interview with Jim Rugg, cartoonist kayfabe's Jim Rugg and cartoonist himself.
Yeah.
And we were talking about zines and talking about putting together, like, why hasn't anybody put together a zine of Bill Sienkiewicz, or why hasn't Kirby's art? And so it's like within the next couple of weeks, maybe months, I was flipping through a lot of Kirby books. I prep books for sale. So, fortunately for me, my job includes flipping through comic books all the time.
Yeah.
And I started to notice
you come across some great artwork, to be fair.
Yeah. And I started to notice like how emotive and how he used to do these splash pages of just faces. Some of it might have been to, for Deadline Crunch. His splash pages were known because of a lot of Deadline Crunches. I started to notice that he would do all these close-ups of faces. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, this is a pattern. And this is, we all love the king.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to Andrew about it. I said it would be cool, like, if we, I started to photograph these and maybe put together a little zine. And his background's in design, and he's like me. We're proponents of talking about the physical object of a comic book, looking in your comics. Not, you don't have to read, every single comic book, but you should flip through it, especially if it's a guy like Kirby or McFarlane or like John Buscema.
Yeah.
And so we came up with this idea to do a zine on the faces. So I gathered all the books that I could find that had these, faces. Luckily, I had acquired a collection of low grade Kirby books. So I was like, whatever, I'm just going to send them to you. He photographs them. And over the next couple of months, we work on the sequencing, and he did the layout, and I was like, oh, let's try this and this. Like, it was a full on 50. Like, I have never really gotten to do something 50-50 collaborative creatively with somebody.
Yeah.
And this felt so right, so good. There was nothing we couldn't agree on. And so I'm like, all right, it's good. My buddy Dave Correa gave me the printer that he uses for his sketchbooks and stuff. And we decided it would be great to donate a portion of the proceeds to the Kirby Research Center and Foundation. The last page talks about that. The last page also is a dedication to Roz and Jack, and a dedication to Cartoonist Kayfabe for keeping us like on our toes, like make more comics. And so we get our first 5 copies, and I'm telling you, I have never felt so fulfilled in anything I've created than this, because it's a testament to him, to his art, to the physical aspect of comic book, and then also a testament to my collaboration with Andrew. And like, I'm super proud of it. You can watch that flip through video on my channel. They're going to be $30 shipped. And I'm going to have more of them in like next week. We had a problem with our last batch. They're uncoated paper, so they feel like a comic should.
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah, and it's just like this thing that I've thought about doing stuff like this in my life, but I've never had somebody to work with that was like the other part of it, like,
Yeah.
because I'm not a designer. I don't have that sense. I have like the ideas, I have the concepts. There's a lot of them in here. But yeah, really, really stoked at how they came out. And it's not going to be the last one. We're already working on volume 2 of the Faces, and then we've got some ideas for a couple other artists, Sankiewicz and Todd.
Yeah. So in terms of it, when getting hold of it, then people have to contact yourself, or will it be on like somewhere like Amazon or?
No, I don't. We're not doing a huge print run. Like, I think we might do. I think we were talking maybe like 150 total.
Oh, wow.
We're still figuring this out, but all you got to do is, if you're connected to me on Instagram, you could order one. International orders, like, if we found a couple of people in your neck of the woods that wanted, I could probably just like maybe ship to you and figure something out. I'd love to be able to say like, yeah, $30 ship to the UK, but obviously that's not a reality.
Yeah.
But I'll, if somebody from the UK is looking for one, we can work something out. And if you're not connected to me on Instagram, westcoastdavengers.com, just shoot me a message, goes right to my email, and we'll get it sorted out.
Yeah. Today's website is this is it.
Yeah, there's the lunatic on the website. That's me.
Great, absolutely great image there. That is.
Yeah, I think it's a little temporary, but it was one that works.
How long have you had the website?
We're still working on it, but it's only been up for about 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to have something that was like a one-stop, like, because I have my arms in so many different things, the YouTube channel, the Kirby zine, my podcast, wanting to buy comic collections from people. I thought this was the best way to do it.
What I find interesting about the Kirby magazine is that, how, for me, and I'm pretty sure it's probably the same for you, Dave, is that you see an image of one of many of Kirby's faces, and you can tell it's Kirby's artwork.
Yeah,
it's like there's a Super Nintendo game. I forgot what the name of the game is called, but I saw the cover and I was like, that looks like that's Rob Liefeld's art. Like, his faces, they all look very similar. The eyes are a bit wide apart, very gaunt, like
yeah, face. Open mouth, gaunt, cheekbones are kind of protruding.
Cheekbones protruding, yeah. And I was like, that looks like that's Rob Liefeld's art. So I started, like, obviously the Google rabbit hole of looking down, and it was, and I was like, oh my God, like, this is like amazing.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Like, we see these things, like you said, but they're not collected anywhere. They're not talked about. They're not put. And so, like, this is a, and the idea of a fanzine, right, comes from being a fan. And I'm a fan. And so, like, if I can put some stuff out there that's like a tribute to that person in a different way. And this is kind of how me and Andrew have approached it, is like a little bit of record, but also just like to give the collector, the reader, something to hold, to look through, that's got a little bit of history involved in it. And so I've got a lot of ideas, and like I said, we've been workshopping stuff, and the cool thing is, like, we're not on any timeline, deadlines. It's just like,
just as and when. Daniel from Mutant Academy Gaming says, great looking book. If you do a Sankiewicz one, I would love to see some of the stories behind the art too, in particular the famous Resident Evil 1 game cover.
Yeah. Mutant Academy, I'm a big Sankiewicz collector. I've got probably close to 2.5 short boxes of books that are just his. Wow. No doubles. So don't worry.
Would love to link for when it's available. Yeah, just hit him up on Instagram.
Instagram or my website, and there you go. And Dan, same thing. Yep.
Brilliant. To be fair, then that's 3 people from the, because I'll have one as well.
All right. Well,
I want mine signed.
Yeah, that's a couple of people have asked, and I don't mind. I just have to work on my signature a little bit.
Oh, no, not you. On it, Kirby. I want a Jack Kirby
Oh,
signature.
you want? Well, there you go. It's right there on the back.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Let me go get my time machine.
Interesting story, actually. I do have a Kirby. Well, I have. Do you know the story of? Have you heard of Dynamic Forces?
Yeah. Nick Barucci's company. Yeah.
Yeah. They release signed comics. They have like 5,000 copies or whatever, or 100 copies or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Have you heard the story of the Jack Kirby one?
No, I haven't.
So there's an X-Men Marvel Milestones issue number 1 of X-Men.
Yeah, the reprint.
The grey silver border.
Yeah.
So I think there's 2,000 copies signed by Jack Kirby, not long before the end of his life. But apparently, he was that ill that the rumor has it that his wife,
Roz,
finished the signatures because they're literally too perfect. So no one will authenticate him.
Yeah.
So I do have a copy. But I think, during the pandemic, they were going for like £300 each. But I got mine for £18 at a Comic-Con.
That's you know what? And honestly, what's the difference? Like, it says what? Like, if Roz was signing them, there's no way to know anyway. It doesn't.
No, exactly.
It doesn't really matter. Like,
it's a bit of history behind it. But I'll tell you something now, Dave. I was going through this bin at this Comic-Con, and I was like, "How much are these signed comics?" And he went, "They're £18 each." And I went, okay. And I was flicking through them, and I was like, Jack Kirby. I was like, because I knew nothing about this like the history of it. I was like, Jack Kirby for 80. I was like, yeah, I'll take that. Snapped his hand off.
Wow, I would have scooped it as quick as you did. I mean, it wouldn't even been a question. It's funny that we're talking about signatures because I dropped a video on Sunday that I submitted 3 books to the JSA CGC thing just to try it out. And I have a long history with autographs, as you see, I collected them. And, to me, that's a story. Like you said, there's a story behind it. It doesn't matter actually at this point of who signed it.
Yeah.
If it was him or her, it's, it doesn't matter. Like, speaking of, I just showed this off did I show this off on stream yet?
No, not on stream. You showed me backstage.
Yeah, I bought this when I was in Scotland last year. Graham Coxon put out a book from Blur, the guitarist and songwriter, and this is a signed edition. I mean, it's always fun to collect this stuff, especially this is cool. It's authenticated. The one you have came from Dynamic Forces. Whether it was him or her, it's authenticated. And in person, you can't dispute it. And so
I might actually have it just there. You want me to get it?
What'd you say? Oh yeah. Go grab it. Yeah. And I'll talk a little bit. Yeah. And the thing is I have such a long history with autographs. So I submitted these books to JSA, CGC, and I talk about autographs, and I'm not trying to tell anybody how to collect. I just tell people my history of it. So
I hope it's
there's also a pin set that Kirby supposedly signed. It was 4 or 5 pins that came out around the same time. And those are also under the same questionable, did he sign them or did she sign them? I'm like, who cares? It's pretty cool nonetheless. Like, what's more unique? A Jack Kirby autograph or a Roz Kirby Jack Kirby autograph? I'm going to go with the Roz.
I do have it.
Nope. Oh, that's really dope. Yeah, that's probably her.
Yeah, it just seems to let's get the angle just right. But there's the
there's the cert.
Yeah. But I'm never gonna get rid of it because there's a chance that he probably has or he probably hasn't, but it's still a bit of history.
It's still cool. Yeah, and £18. I mean, come on.
You can't go wrong, can you?
No. I found last year I was at Half Price Books, which is a chain store in the US. I was at the one at the Bay in Berkeley in San Francisco. And I bought this program from Baycon 3 from 1977, Icarus Jack Kirby cover. And I just bought it. It was cool, right? It was like 10, maybe $20. I bring home my haul from, when I get home, I got pounds of books, and I open it up and flip through it, open to the last page, the autograph page, signed by Jack Kirby. Had no clue. Had no clue. Yeah. So
that's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
It's why you should open up your books, friends.
Yeah, don't encapsulate them.
Yeah, or at least open them up before you encapsulate them.
Yeah. Right. It is true. If the story is true, it's an interesting piece of history in itself.
Yeah.
Even if Ross signed it, it would still be under the same roof as the king. I'm pretty sure he inherited some of the osmosis. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, she was his inspiration for everything anyway. So,
yeah. Behind every great man
is an even greater woman.
Yeah. There you go. Right. So let's go to the next question.
Except there's no woman behind me. God damn it. Anyway.
Right. I asked this of each of my guests. Tell us an interesting fact about yourself, if you don't mind, Dave.
Okay. I'll go with probably the most interesting fact that I could ever tell anybody.
Okay.
I used to work for a sports memorabilia company and auction house in New York when I lived there, and I grew up there. I think it was the last, or I don't know, some 2010, 2012. We get a call from the production office of Kirby Your Enthusiasm, Larry David's show, that they need, I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's co-creator of Seinfeld, one of the funniest people alive. They needed sports memorabilia for one of their sets, and they wanted to rent a bunch of stuff. So we said, okay. They gave my boss and the vice president, they were like, you guys can come if you want and be extras in the scene or whatever. Long story short, I told my boss, I'm like, you're not going. I'm going. He's like, good. I don't want to spend 12 hours. I got to be on an episode of Kirby Your Enthusiasm as an extra. It is the famous Mr. Softy episode where Larry and JB Smoove, what's his name? Leon. They go to a card show to meet former Met Mookie Wilson and former Boston Red Sox Bill Buckner, and I'm in that scene in the background selling sports memorabilia to people. I got to watch them work for a day, and it's one of the funniest episodes of the show's history.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and I'm in that background. A lot more hair, and my beard is very black. There's no gray in it, but that was a fact. I got to be on the Mr. Softy episode of Kirby Your Enthusiasm.
So I'm definitely gonna find that clip.
You should. I can probably find it for you.
I'm gonna make a reel of this and put it on Instagram with that.
There you go. I'll send you. I have a couple still photos from it. I can send this to you also. But yeah, it would. And I see myself as like in 15 years when I'm his age. Then now where I am then. I am Larry David. I think like him. I get into the same kind of trouble as he does.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a moment that I'm just like, I'm like, did that really happen?
Yeah.
And it did. Yeah.
That's an amazing story. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, that was the interesting fact.
Did you besides them renting, did you get any financial for being an extra?
Yeah, I got paid whatever the minimum wage was for an extra for 12 hours. So I think I still have
no residuals.
No residuals. No. I'm not SAG. I don't have a SAG card or anything, but I still kept the pay stub from it. That's in like a box somewhere. I got paid I was like, you could pay. I don't need money. Like I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, you don't have to pay me. I'm literally like 12 feet away from Larry David walking, talking, like watching him work. And then every time JB Smoove, and this is going to be a deep baseball reference, but every time JB Smoove goes off camera and he goes up, he's Joe Pepitone, like that's a former New York Yankee, and he slapped me 12 different times.
Oh wow, that's amazing. David, Dan from Mutant Academy Gaming says great episode.
Yeah.
Derek saying you have too many fun facts, Dave. What about Big Show witnessing court?
So I recently told a story on my podcast, Direct Edition. You can find the links down below. directed. Yep. No, I'm going to stop. But yeah, I do have this podcast where I get to kind of just talk about whatever I want, pick up, whatever. And there was this, I don't know if you're a wrestling fan, but you might be familiar, former WWE wrestler, Big Show. He was in WCW as the Giant, and now he goes by his real name in AEW as Paul White. He was Captain Insano in The Waterboy, the Adam Sandler movie. And long story short, you can listen to the podcast. It was episode 19. I testified for him in court. He had knocked somebody out in a hotel that was harassing him and physically pushed him. And I got to become friends with him and go to all these wrestling events thereafter. But yeah, I was a witness in a big court case right after he debuted in WWE.
Oh, wow. So you witnessed it, gave evidence.
And testified.
That's pretty cool. That's amazing.
Yeah, I don't know. When you look at your own life and the places you've been in, like the things that have happened that you're interacting with, it's weird to like try and explain it to people. But I've been in some situations and I've done some things. Nothing bad. I never did anything illegal. I never found myself on that side of the law. I'm just saying,
oh wow. Dave has put you both get bothered by the exact same things, similar things.
Yeah, me and Larry David. I've known Dave for 15 years, maybe 20 years now. So he knows me pretty well.
Ah, that's good.
Yeah.
And so the final question is, what is the future? What holds the future for West Coast DAVEngers?
Wow, in the grand scheme of things, and what I'd love to see, what I'd like my future to be, is to be the place that everybody goes to be, like comics professionals come on to the show and we have great conversations and I get to put a lot of comic history down on record. If it was up to me, somebody hires me to go to different countries and hunt books and go to comic stores and make a TV show about it or a documentary about it. That's, if somebody would pay me to do that and I still get to, do this by my own rules.
Yeah.
That would be the dream, right? Like do what I do now, have somebody else foot the bill. And with the podcast Direct Edition, I'm really going to attempt to grow that into a big podcast where I can interview the Great Lakes DAVEngers, DAVEngers would be, and then I guess after that would be like the Tim's DAVEngers. I don't know. The Nile DAVEngers. No, but with Direct Edition is I'm going to attempt to try and make that into a podcast where I can interview like anybody across the board, like music, movies, TV, sports. Like,
so you're not just set to one like genre. You're mixing it up, keeping it fresh.
Yeah, I'm passionate about all forms of the arts, and I want to be able to give an outlet for people to promote their things, but also have great conversations. I watch a lot of interviews. I spend a lot of time, like if I'm working on books, I'll put some interviews on. I'll just type in a name and watch interviews on YouTube, or I'll listen to podcasts. And there are some great people out there. Like Conan O'Brien is like an alpha podcast, like that's a level of, but I'm not a celebrity, so I don't get that jumping
that
off
elevation,
Yeah.
Great start already, don't you?
But like I'm hypercritical about myself, and I'm hypercritical about some of the questions that I watch get asked by other people. I'm like, I know I could do this better. I have no journalism training whatsoever. My brother actually went to school for journalism, but I just think like I will have conversations with people in my head that I want to have eventually. And so if I can just be part of that, but especially for the comic industry, the comic community, the comic hobby, I want to talk to artists and writers and publishers, and I want to have a conversation with Joe Quesada. There's a lot of stuff I want to talk to him about, and
that'd be great.
He was responsible for so much at Marvel. Like I said, Rob Liefeld and Jim Lee eventually would be nice, but Yeah, the future is that the comic book selling will always continue, but if I'm being honest, I have any reason not to be. I'd like to pull back on the selling. Like I'd like to not have to do it even every 2 weeks. Once a month would be nice.
Yeah.
I'm not a money person.
Yeah.
I'm more of an experienced person. I want to do more.
So I hope you don't mind me mentioning this, but before we went live, we were talking, and you mentioned about your love for Scotland.
Yes. Yes.
And you said that, one day in the future you'd love to
live there. Yeah, that's a goal. I mean, I love that country so much, and it's every time I'm there, and no, it's like people talk about like, oh, that's just vacation, right? But every time I'm there, I just think about how much I want to stay and start a life there. And if that's where life takes me, and I maybe open up a comic shop there,
that would be amazing.
As a podcaster, I could live anywhere.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter where I live.
Yeah, no, that would be amazing, and I would be there opening day for the comic shop.
Well, 100%. I appreciate that. I mean, the only problem it becomes is sourcing books. The amount of books in the US versus the amount of books in the UK is 10 to 1, 20 to 1, whatever. But life doesn't always have to be about business and selling. Like, if the podcast career takes off, the direct edition, and I still stay West Coast DAVEngers on YouTube, like, maybe I don't have to sell books anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe I just do this and I bring people good stuff, good content, whatever we want to call it.
Yeah. But so in terms of, you've talked about the podcast, the direct edition, you can find the direct edition on YouTube at the Direct Edition Podcast.
Yes, it's also on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, all the big platforms.
You're on Instagram as well. That's your Instagram as well.
Yeah.
And again, you can find Dave on his website as well, the West Coast DAVEngers.com, and his YouTube as well there. And please go and check out all this fantastic content that you're putting out, Dave. Honestly, you are I think you're an awesome person in the comic community.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I deal with a lot going on in here. Imposter syndrome is a real thing. I try to be as open and honest as I can. I try to impart my knowledge on people. I encourage people to challenge themselves. Like, if we're talking about comics, I encourage you to challenge yourself and read something you've never read, collect something you've never thought about collecting, dive a little bit deeper. This history of comics goes back to World War I. Previous to World War I, we have 100 years plus of history in comics. There's more than just the 90s, and look, I'm a 90s kid through and through, but it's not the deepest when it comes to, like, we're talking about meaty things, unless you dig a little bit deeper. If you dig into the UK, the Alan Moore, the Grant Morrison, the Neil Gaiman's, like, there's more. And just keep learning. Like, I was a shit student in school, and I would be a A++ student now, because all I want to do is keep learning. And it brings more enjoyment when you learn more.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. At school, I wasn't I didn't focus or pay attention, but now, professionally and in life now, I tend to retain things and learn, like, try to do it. But no wonder. But you've been a fantastic guest, Dave.
Well, you've been a fantastic host.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. We've got John's Comics and Kids with us. Thank you for joining us.
What's up, John?
Gemma said it's been a great show. Thank you very much. But Dave, I've got to say, from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much for coming. You welcome anytime to come on the channel. I would love to hang out with you and Manu, to be fair.
And I got it. You've been beyond a great host. And like,
Oh,
I mean that. I mean that. Like from somebody that's hosted people before and somebody that's been hosted, I don't think I've been as welcome anywhere more than this interview, this channel, this hangout.
Oh, thank you very much. That means, honestly, that means that I will be thinking about it before I go to sleep at night.
Well, thanks, James, and thanks to everybody for hanging out. And
Yeah.
don't forget to follow this guy. If you're one of my people, you gotta follow this guy right here on his channel.
Yeah, and if you're one of my people, please go follow Dave. You probably already are, but please, if you're not, please go and check out Dave's content because he is amazing. Thank you very much. So we will end the show now, Dave. I hope you don't mind, but we'll see you guys next time. And look after yourselves out there. And I just want to say I'm really proud of the England boys. When it were you using your iPhone as a camera?
I got a Mac, so yeah.
Oh, Mac. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah. England won today, so congratulations, England, on to getting into the semi-finals. So that's going to keep us busy this Wednesday. I am actually selling comics next Sunday.
Ooh.
I've done it once before.
Here on the channel?
No, not on the channel. No, there's a place. I don't know if you've heard of Hereford.
No.
There's a place in Hereford. It's a comic mart they do every couple of months.
Oh, nice.
And I've kindly been invited to come back after my first go. It funded my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles one that I picked up.
Congratulations.
I mean, I just sell to buy more comics.
I get it. That's how I started.
Because I tend to just go into places and go, you know what, that's really cheap. I'm going to buy that. I don't need it. I've got 6 copies already. You know what? I'm only buying it because it's like £1 or £2 or
right.
£3. And I know that it's probably worth, 5 to 10, So it's one of them things. Maybe I'm a future seller. I don't know. But yeah. No, thank you very much, everybody, for watching. Dave, you've been fantastic.
Yes.
Audience,
thank you,
you've been fantastic for asking Dave questions. So we'll see you guys next time. See you later.